Okay, Alec, for the second part of this, I paired you up with the best hitter in baseball. So you're going to be able to see the absolute best and watch what he does really well, and be able to try and impart some of the things that he does into your swing as well, or be able to see it from somebody else and what I'm talking about within your swing. Okay, so the first thing is if we look at his back foot, so I know this is extremely tough to tell, and it looks like it's pointed back towards the catcher, but I think it's because of the camera angle, and we're down the first base line a little bit as opposed to yours. I'm straight on. It does look like it's pointed back, but I've seen other videos of him to where it is pointed in the right direction. I would say that he probably is just a tad bit open, but not quite as open as yours. And I think what you'll see later on is he doesn't get all the way on his toe, but he does do a good job of initiating his back hip through the baseball. Okay, I'll show you this one from him in slow motion. Okay, so if we get to, right, so we load up our hands like he's doing. Okay, now we're in that post-stride position. Remember, we got here, let's look. Okay, so this is kind of what I'm talking about. If we're to take away the top half and just look here, take away the top half and just look here. Okay, so can you see with that front leg how much more flush he is to the ground? Okay, so that's really what we're trying to get to. Everything else, so your hips are still closed, which is awesome. You're doing a great job there. Your hands are starting to move a little bit, which tells me that you got a little bit rushed. If we can see the blur right there with your hands and we look at his, there's not a whole lot of blur. So that right there tells me that you got rushed a little bit. And maybe that is the reason why that you get to the inside part of your foot on your front leg. But when we look at his, it's working on time, and that front foot is absolutely flush up against the ground. Now, if we fast forward it and run through this, I guess, and watch what his legs do from there, it's pretty impressive. Okay, so he's got, you want to think of like that front foot as being like an anchor. And once we get that thing down, boom, it's down. Now we're anchored to the ground, and we're just hitting up against it. And he does probably the best job of this of anybody in baseball, which is probably a big reason why he's the best hitter in baseball, but he maximizes the use of his legs. And he's got tree trunks as legs, but he maximizes them by staying stuck to the ground with that front leg, and he works up against it. That's how he creates so much power. We go back over to here to you, and you do a pretty good job once you get there. Okay, once you get there, it's a pretty good job with your front leg. There's just more that you can get into it and more that you can do from here to there. Okay, so if we get to that position like I was talking about, that position right there just a frame earlier, you'll be in a much better spot. Now what I want you to look at is when he goes back over here, I want you to look at his back foot, and it's really tough to tell. He kind of brings his heel up right there a little bit, but look at where the weight's starting to disperse. Okay, he's going up against his backside. He takes this front knee, this way towards his back hip, and what that does is whenever you're moving up against your backside, you're creating tension right here in your back hip. Good tension. You're creating like a spring. And what it does is the tighter that spring coils, the quicker your back hip's going to come through when you need it to. Okay, so if we're thinking about this, we have to, here's where this becomes crucial, we have to stay on the inside part of our back foot. Because if we don't stay on the inside part of our back foot when we get flush to the ground with our back foot and the weight dispersed on top of our back foot, then we're losing the coil that we could create with our back hip. Okay, so that's another thing that he does really well in terms of staying up against it. And now it's coil and go. Coil, go. Coil, go. And everything is so in sync. Okay, so then we go and look at yours. Okay, so you kind of just turn it. I think that you can go more up against that backside to create a little bit more to get off that back leg. And so then when we look at the point of contact, right, and we're still kind of stuck to the ground right there, we look at him at the point of contact. Watch his back hip, how it keeps moving through the baseball. Okay, so he's still moving, he's still gaining distance with that backside and that back leg. That's how he maximizes those tree trunks. Okay, so you're close, and I really do think it all kind of starts with the load. It starts with where your foot is in relation to the catcher and where you're starting. It starts with that, and it starts with your load. And when you push back up against it, not getting all the way up on our back foot, but staying on the inside part of our back foot. Okay, now I want you to watch something that you do really well. Okay, so if we're talking about his heels down there, let's draw a circle around your head. Draw a circle around his head. Okay, so let's roll through this. Okay, that thing stays nearly right in the middle of that tiny little circle. Not a lot of head movement, which is awesome because it eliminates room for error, basically. Because if we're moving our head forward, we're going to have a hard time. We're going to try and catch up with balls, and they're speeding up on us. We move our head backwards. We're losing distance. That's never good. So with you, watch your head. That's absolutely tremendous. And you push forward a little bit at the end. And to be honest with you, the reason why you push forward there at the end is because you still have something in your back hip, and you're still trying to get it through, and that's when you finally release it and get it through. Okay, we can get that thing through just a little bit earlier. We don't have to push it through at the end. But how still your head stays from heel down to contact is pretty tremendous. There are not a lot of guys that can do that, not a lot of guys on our team that do that. Okay, so that's one thing that I looked at in your swing that I thought, wow, he does a really good job of. Okay, so everything else, not bad. Your bat pass pretty good. And like I talked about, once you do get those legs firing, it's not bad either. Okay, but there's just more efficient ways to get from point A to point B. Alec, if you've got any questions, if your mom's got any questions for me, feel free to let me know. Don't hesitate to email me, whatever it may be, and we can talk about it. If something doesn't make sense, we can talk about it. Alec, I appreciate it, and I'll see you soon.